Great. So the next topic that we want to talk about is this notion of consistency is king. So you heard from the data, you heard from here that the shifting is taking place. So no surprise, what does Gen Z crave? Consistency. So 58% saying, I wish I had more consistency in my life, and 69% say they find comfort in familiarity. So this was one of the first things that stood out to us when we went to our first fielding, was that we kind of had this hypothesis that, yeah, we know they shift and that's how they live, but we were a little bit surprised that they would find so much comfort in the familiarity. And that's a really interesting finding for a lot of our clients that have been around for a long time, because they're like, oh my gosh, I've got to change and keep up with them, when in reality you're feeding into the shifting when you can actually provide that consistent force that they're looking for. Another hypothesis that we went out with, that we had heard and read in a number of places, again, this generation wants to find the shiny, bright new object so they can show all their friends on their social media, like, look at this cool thing I found, they want to be the first to discover it. Well, we found this is debunked. So not true. 85% actually say, yeah, I actually prefer the brand that I'm familiar with, that has been around for a while, versus this kind of new non-mainstream brand. And then lastly, this was kind of interesting. We asked a number of different attributes about what's important to you when you're thinking about a brand, and not a big surprise, offering good value, I think, is the number one response regardless of generation. But what was really interesting was for Gen Z, if you look at number 2 and 3, consistent and familiar. Again, we see this, like, how does that rank higher than innovation and understanding me? So really consistently we're seeing this notion of familiarity.
So Erika, familiar for a restaurant, right, is actually sometimes can be a really good thing, right? Sushi by Boo hasn't been around for that long, but you still are getting people coming in over and over again. So what do you think the role is of consistency in how you deliver in your sector?
Sure. So Sushi by Boo has been around for 2.5 years, which is not very long in a restaurant life. I think we kind of touched on a couple different factors where, we touched on the fact that people are, this generation, all generations are generally overwhelmed with information overload, and how many different feeds you're following, and how many, different channels you're following. And there's just so much information, and what you mentioned, there's definitely FOMO, and, you need to know what's going on. You have to be updated on the news. You have to be updated what your friends are doing. You have to, be able to make small talk at the next conversation of what happened that day. But then also, what you mentioned about we don't want to waste people's time. There's definitely only so many hours in a day, and people are getting so much of it. So in terms of consistency, I think obviously, we can go through what he had up there in terms of the different points. You don't want to waste people's time, and in terms of consistency, like, I think it's about balance, right? When so much of your world is just chaotic and you just have so much information, when you're shopping, when you're eating, like specifically when it's hospitality, you don't want to spend more time thinking about that than you need to. You want it to be easy. So, for a brand to be successful and to actually capture that audience, the consistency, I think we all know, you go on Seamless, you have your top 3 places that you order from. I think we're all guilty also of the fact, if you get a bad delivery, we're all guilty of the fact that we've probably all sworn off, like, I'm never ordering from here again, because they forgot your lo mein. It's definitely, you need consistency, because with everything else going on, there are certain things in your day-to-day shopping and the products you're purchasing where you want reliability, you want that consistency, so you don't need the extra stress.
Yeah, especially if you're going out for what's supposed to be fun and a reprieve from this hectic day and all these big issues that you're thinking about that you shouldn't be.
Correct.
It's like you want to go out and have a good time. You definitely don't want that to be screwed up, right?
Right. Plus, we all work hard. This generation definitely works hard and probably has limited funds based on that age. When you are spending your money, you want to make sure, A, you're getting a good value, and B, you feel good about spending that money.
So Michael, how about the role of consistency? Like, how do you see that familiarity playing out with this audience just on a day-to-day?
Yeah, so going off both those points, I think you can kind of put yourselves in our shoes here to understand this one. You got a lot on your mind, okay? A lot of things stressing you out, okay? Say you're in like a state you don't know too much about, it's been a long day, you just want a good coffee, there's a bunch of random coffee places, you don't want a bad coffee, you see a Starbucks, you know what you're gonna get, you know you're gonna get value, you know exactly what you want and how it's gonna be, and just nice to have the consistency in your life when everything else is so chaotic that I just talked about. Just having something you can constantly turn to for value. You see some of our favorite brands, Starbucks, Dunkin', Nike, obviously great value and amazing products, but also at all of their locations, you're going to get that same consistency, and that's very comforting in a generation that clearly has none.